Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your natal Venus in conjunction, squaring, or opposing Saturn. I'm going to lump these all together because when I was looking up information, they did so as well, the sites that I visited. So at least some of them did, a couple of them. And I feel like they do all connect, and that even the conjunction can be a bit challenging when you're talking about these two planets coming together. Okay. Now, I did get a comment on one of my recent aspects video where the person wanted to know why I didn't have timestamps for their particular aspects since I was lumping them together. Please don't be a Cliff Notes type of person when you go through life acquiring information, because you really miss out on more like of a holistic approach when you just compartmentalize and say, I just want to hear about my thing. Because actually, like I said, they are including these aspects together because there's a lot in common. It's just how it's expressed may be slightly different. So a lot of these things, when I tell you them, it's going to be true for the square and the opposition. What might be different is that the person feels more like it's bothering them. I think with the conjunction, because a conjunction is usually going to be in the same sign, there's like more, you could say like a complacency if you want to, be negative about it, but I would say there's more of a consistency. So the person accepts this as how they are. When somebody has a square, they may feel like, I don't like this, I want to change this. That, squares spur people to action because they are irritated. They feel this sense of blockage, and they can tell that something is not expressing itself. There's a conflict there. With the opposition, they can be actively projecting whatever it is onto another person. And it's like they're trying to engage that person. So with the opposition and this combination, this can be the most, I think, futile sometimes, because the person is looking for love maybe in all of the wrong places. Whereas with the conjunction, people, it's almost like they accept their fate. Okay. So basically, I'm going to just be talking about these things, but just understand that this is going to apply to all of you who have these aspects, maybe in a slightly different way of how you respond to having this aspect. If you're fighting back with it, or if you are, trying to get the other person to change with the opposition, or just kind of being complacent or accepting with the conjunction. So there's a sense of duty in relationships. This can often mirror what you observed with your parents. So that sense of like, hey, you have to be in a relationship. You have to be in a marriage, whether you like it or not. And that can happen if there is an unwanted, unexpected pregnancy that kind of gets the ball rolling, and then they're kind of stuck in those roles. Now, it doesn't mean that the parents stay together, because my partner's parents got divorced. And it's interesting because it bothered him when his parents got divorced. So that was interesting. And I think that can be another thing that they didn't mention, but it can bother you when people split up or get divorced, because you think, Saturn is about the long haul. And so with Venus there, it's like you should be dedicated to your partner forever. And, I just started this over again, and I realized that, I don't know if I said this at the beginning, but I recognize some of these attributes in my partner who has the conjunction, but some of them did not ring true. So that's why I went to another site. When I do a reading over again, I'm like, not sure if I said this. So I want to give a shout out to 2 sites where I obtained this list, and I'm going to add some other things that I remembered from other things I had read in the past. But these 2 sites are cafeastrology.com and the astrology placemembership.com. So this kind of thing, like the idea of a permanent union, or just believing in, you marry for life, those kinds of things can be quite strong in somebody who has this combination. Now, again, the conjunction in particular, because with the square and opposition, there may be kind of turmoil. So that may make things even less likely to occur. And so the person probably isn't that convinced that that is true about life. Even though the person may feel like they are that they have a sense of duty with being coupled or married, whatever you're in, you still may be lonely in that relationship. And this is something that Saturn struggles with, is loneliness. Now, Venus is very congenial, so it's kind of a very odd combination. It certainly isn't a very comfortable combination, these 2 planets. When you're young, I think that a lot of children who have this combination may feel that they are unlovable for some reason. There might be emotional deprivation that is coming from your family of origin, from your parents or your caretakers, whoever took care of you. And this kind of thing, I mean, you have to look at the sun sign. What if you have the sun in Cancer, or the moon in Cancer, the moon in Pisces, the sun in Pisces? This can make you even more vulnerable to emotional deprivation, emotional rejection if you have the moon in the 12th house. And this kind of thing, I think that this leads people sometimes to get married because Saturn wants guarantees. Saturn wants, contracts. So I could see that happening, although my partner and I are not married. We've been together for decades. So that is not going to be true 100% of the time. Although I have to check if he really has a conjunction, or he just has the same 2 the planets in the same signs, because he might not actually have an official conjunction. So you have to see, you have to look at a chart generating service and the aspects table just to get a feel for it. Just don't go by the fact that they're in the same sign, Venus and Saturn. So that is one thing. Now, another thing too is that you might be attracted to somebody who's older, somebody who has a certain amount of status in society. This is kind of like having Venus in Capricorn, and the same thing can happen, or Venus in the 7th house. I mean, Saturn in the 7th. And this is another reason, like, even if somebody is in a loveless union, they may stay out of a sense of duty, but they may also stay to save face, because Saturn rules the 10th house of your reputation, and you may fear a loss of reputation. You may fear that people will think that you are a failure, that you couldn't keep your marriage together. And also, like I said, if somebody feels unlovable, they may look at getting divorced as proof that they are unlovable. And this happens all the time, and you don't have to have this combination to feel like that. I think that happens a lot of times when people are reluctant to break up with their partner. It's because they feel it says something about them, which is really quite... that's erroneous on many levels, and it can actually keep such a person from their joy. But what's interesting is that Saturn kind of is a killjoy. Saturn is very much about, buckle up buttercup type of energy, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. It's not warm and fuzzy. Venus is the one that is about pleasure, and Saturn is about, almost trying to discipline yourself from needing that pleasure. You could be awkward and shy. You might be someone who has a hard time approaching another person. So especially with men, and this may be kind of outdated for me to say because I don't really know how the people who are under 30, how they get together. If women are much more aggressive these days and they go after the males, and with same-sex relationships, I guess it doesn't matter, either one. I'm looking at it from the dynamic of who is the aggressor. So that's why I'm looking at from the gender-based perspective of the male-female relate, or the heterocentric, or whatever you want to call it. But in any case, I always felt like it must be hard for heterosexual men to have to make the first move. I always felt like that was very, I could understand how it would be difficult. But this can even be true if you are a female getting approached by someone, is that you may feel like inhibited. There's an inhibition with Saturn, and Venus, wants to love, but it doesn't know how when it's got this very restrictive energy, Saturn. So you'll find this with any kind of relationship. With any kind of aspect where Saturn is there, including like the sun or the moon, where there's a sense of like something keeping the person from expressing themselves as they really want to. So there's a practical approach to love. It's not necessarily all hearts and flowers. Again, though, my partner was always very, we had a very romantic, beginning to our relationship, and he sent me poems and short stories, and that was something that really captured my, interest and stuff like that. So I just want to say that whenever you look at these interpretations, look at multiple ones. Don't just take the first one that comes along. And also remember that the chart is multifaceted. It's not going to be just this one aspect. So you have to look at the people's sun sign. For instance, my partner is a Sagittarius, as am I. Fire sign, that's going to tend to be warmer. If you are, for instance, a Capricorn, wow. Or if you are maybe like I'm not picking on Capricorn, but some sign that is not usually emotionally just effusive, doesn't really share their emotions in a very visible way. Something along those lines. You're going to be more like what they're saying here. And it's also important to note that this is just where you're at right now. You can change this. Knowledge is power. So don't think that I'm telling you, okay, this is your fate. Okay? So you might be attracted to people who are older, who are very, very like... this is an interesting thing, too, because they talk about parent-child relationships and being careful about that. And my partner is 11 years older than I am. And I can see in certain cases where that has come about, although, of course, after so many years, it's not really the same thing. But it's like the Saturn person can be that, well, you're a Venus and Saturn combined, but you might be the kind of person who is very stern, or on the flip side, that you're looking for somebody to give you that kind of guidance. And I feel like we kind of change roles within relationships, that we can shift from sometimes being like that parent, and then sometimes being like the child. I'm not saying that all of us can't kind of play that part within a relationship at times, but it's when it's a very deeply ingrained dynamic where one person is kind of like taking care of everything, the other person is like a helpless child. That's problematic, in the long run. Maybe sometimes the other person has to grow up, they have to find themselves. I don't think it's ever going to be 100% the truth that it's bad or whatever. But look at that in your relationship. Are you attracted to someone because you feel like you can be their mentor and that you can give them guidance, but it's not really an equal relationship? Especially if I'm thinking, like, let's say you are a Capricorn, like an earth sign, and the other person is a fire sign, or the other person is an air sign, and they're very capricious. They're very spontaneous, and they kind of, maybe it makes you even a little bit happy. Maybe you're a water sign too. It could be like you're a water sign. And it makes you feel like you're tapping into that youthful, free nature that you don't feel that you have. But then it's like you have to be, the adult in the room all the time. And it's not respectful to them because you're basically treating them like they are incapable of doing certain things. And if you are the one playing the child's role, and you're getting this adult, maybe an older person, somebody who you're looking up to, maybe because you didn't get love from your parent, ask yourself, is this really a healthy relationship? Is this something where I really care for this person for who they are? Or am I just trying to replay this childhood that I felt deprived? And am I really thinking that I can reverse that by being in this relationship? Because that might not be the case. And same, I've said this before, if you get involved with somebody because they have a higher social status, or maybe they have money, and you want that type of kind of lifestyle and what have you, you can feel lonely in that relationship. And you really have to see that for what it is. And sometimes it can be a wonderful lesson about the limitations of money, that money can only go so far, that money can't buy you love, And some people, I think some people with this conjunction may even dismiss love as being that important. They might say, it's more important to have a roof over my head. But really, I mean, that's kind of dire. I don't mean it that bad. But it's more important to live a lavish lifestyle than to worry about something as foolish as love, because Saturn can be quite cynical. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, and when you're in that experience, you can see all too clearly exactly how that plays out. I've said this before, it was for a different video, but with the same kind of theme as this. I think it was for Venus in the 7th house, or Saturn in the 7th house. There's a movie called Magnolia by the same person who wrote and directed Boogie Nights, if you remember those movies. And one of the running storylines in that is about like a game show host, and he marries this younger woman, and they're living in this lonely existence. And now he's sick and old, and a nurse is taking care of him. And I think it was like a male nurse played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, who I really loved as an actor. So it's just amazing that that kind of thing really hits so hard about what happens. Because, yeah, in the moment, you have, you have it made, you have the arm candy, or you have this sugar daddy type of situation. And you're young and beautiful, you're older and successful, and then one day something happens. The person becomes ill, they need help, and they realize that the person that is their heir, the person supposed to be the closest to them, is actually the farthest away, and they have to hire help to keep them alive. And there's something very cold about that. And there's a coldness with Saturn. So I feel, though, that they emphasize too much about the negative qualities. I think that there can be a lot of devotion to a partner. And I feel that there can be a karmic link. Now, you might look at other signs of this with the two people if you're looking at synastry, to see like exactly what else is going on. But one thing they mentioned was kind of funny was prostitution. Again, I think that that's kind of like legalized when you get married for ulterior motives, that you could look at it that way. I don't know about like, I think that's more Venus and Pluto, if you ask me. And they talk about like your money situation, that you can be very good at saving money, and also that you can have a better second half of life, because Saturn, Saturn is like fine wine, and it improves with age. Saturn is connected to older age. So when you're younger, you may feel like this combination is awkward, that you feel, painfully shy with potential relationships, but I feel like you can loosen up as you get older. You can learn how to trust. This is if you're willing to grow, obviously, with anything else, as with anything else in life. So I hope that you enjoyed this. And if you would like a private reading, if you like how I do these kinds of analyses, is that the plural? Please consider, getting a natal chart interpretation. I really love doing these most of all. But in any case, thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.